Changing perspective, how to care for the child beneath the behaviors. What's a community? When you're with your community, how does it feel? One of the biggest needs we have as humans is the sense of belonging. We often find that sense of belonging with our families, with our friends, with any organization we belong to, with churches, with schools. A sense of community is a feeling of belonging, a sense that the members of the community matter to each other, and the confidence that everyone's needs will be met. Whether in a daycare center or a school, it's important that we develop this sense of belonging and build community so that children feel safe with their peers and also safe with the adults who care for them. Do we think all communities fit that definition? Are all of our students living a life where they feel safe and they feel that they matter? I think we know the answer to that. There's a saying that says, be kind, you never know what someone is going through. And there's also the analogy of an iceberg. What we see on the top is only just a small portion of what is going on underneath the surface. Developmentally, children are wired to push against the rules and the boundaries that we give them, and the adult's job is to push back and ensure that those boundaries stay put. And even though the kids may not think that they like it, they actually crave it and feel safe when those boundaries are in place, because it takes the need to control things away from them and allows them to just live the life they're supposed to live as kids. But it matters how we do that, especially with children who have undergone significant trauma in their lives. So there's something called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And there's a test that goes along with it that helps to determine the possibility of negative consequences in somebody's life based on how many of these adverse things had happened to them before the age of 18. These adverse childhood experiences can have an effect on potential violence in somebody's life, either as the perpetrator or as the victim. Also on health opportunities and long-term health. They're linked to chronic health problems, substance abuse issues, and mental illness. These can have a negative impact on people's education, their job opportunities, and their earning potential. ACEs, along with other social factors of health, such as moving around a lot, or food insecurity, or living in an underserved area or racially segregated area. These things can cause toxic or prolonged stress. The toxic stress can impact a child's immune system and their brain development, and also how they handle stress. In turn, these changes can affect a child's attention, decision-making, and their learning. So PACEs are protective and compensatory strategies, how to reduce the impact of ACEs. They're known to act as buffers against childhood trauma and to promote healing. A person with an ACE score of 4 who had no PACEs may have a very different outcome from someone with an ACE score of 4 who had a loving grandparent, teacher, or coach. The most prominent PACE is the unconditional love of a parent or mentor. Others include having at least one best friend, mindfulness, exercise or physical activity, hobbies or clubs, and a school that provided resources. So what this tells us is that how we connect with our students really can make a huge difference in their lives. It can actually really improve the their long-term prospects in life, even if they've gone through a lot of trauma as children. So what can we do? We can acknowledge, empathize, and adapt. So acknowledging means that we really need to see the children for who they are inside, no matter what their outside behavior shows us. They could be moody, they could be oppositional, they could yell a lot, or they could be people pleasers, or just shut down. But no matter how they present, they're just kids looking for compassion, understanding, and connection. Just like us, students are shaped by how their personalities were when they came into this world and all the experiences that they've had since they've been here. And we may not like every child, and that's okay, as long as we don't communicate that with our face, with our words, and with our actions. Their brains and personalities are still developing, so what we say and what we do matters a lot. The next part is to be able to empathize, right? Empathy means that we are able to kind of feel or acknowledge or perceive what somebody is going through based on their experiences without actually going through the experience ourselves. We might know in our brains that our students have gone through some traumatic things. We might even know what they are, but if we don't take a minute to kind of look at their perspective and how they could be feeling, no matter what behavior they're presenting, then we're just going to be reactionary. It's much better for us and for the kids if instead of being reactive, we're being proactive. What can we do to make that child's life more stable and more comfortable while they're with us? What can we see that might be happening that would change their behavior in our classrooms? And then we have to come up with a plan to deal with that, rather than just being reactive, that a child does something wrong and we get mad that they do it and we yell and our tone and our face and everything is just very harsh. If we can take the time to do that, we can gradually make huge improvements on the behaviors of our classrooms while also maintaining that feeling of self-worth, or improving the feeling of self-worth that our students have. The next part is to adapt. And adapting means that we are going to shift our perception of things and make changes accordingly. And that's kind of what we're doing with this social skills program, right? We have the expected and unexpected behaviors that the children are being a part of coming up with, right? That gives them a buy-in to it. And then we have them posted so that we can just kind of point and say, hey, remember this? This is unexpected. Instead of kind of having to blow up and, like I said before, be reactive. Children feel like their voices are heard and they feel like they're part of the decision-making process to an extent. And they feel like they're a part of a community and that they really do matter to you and to the other peers. They're going to intrinsically want to do better. They're going to want to please, they're going to want to behave, because the positive reaction will be so much better than any negative reaction that they could have. So how do we build connections and a sense of community? First part would be to encourage the students to bond with each other and to bond with the staff. We can play, you play games and do activities where the kids are able to make connections, things that they all have in common, things that they all like. And then that will help bring a sense of that community. Like, we all need to make a connection. When you meet somebody and you're like, oh yeah, I went to that school. They're like, oh yeah, me too. All of a sudden that connection is easier to build on. Or if, you have a shared hobby or something like that. It's the same for kids. Once a connection is made, then it's easier for that little relationship to grow bigger and more comfortable. The next thing to do is to ensure a positive classroom environment. When your kids come into the classroom, and I'm sure a lot of you already do this, you want to greet them by name. Make them feel welcome, maybe notice what they're wearing or ask them a question related to something you know about them. Right there, that's establishing a bond and a connection. The next thing is to use positive words and tone of voice, even if you're not feeling it. This helps students to feel safe, and it also helps protect their self-esteem. These children are not our friends who are okay with teasing and sarcasm. It's hard to maintain a positive or at least neutral attitude because of our own stress, it's okay to step back and take a minute to reset yourself, and even to ask for another staff member to come in and help you out, because we all have days when we're not feeling our best. Another way to keep things more positive in the classroom is to use the language that we're learning for the social skills program. So if a kid gets out of their chair, instead of, hey, get back in your chair, and they say, why? And you're like, because I said so, right? Because that kind of right away is going to start like a little bit of a power struggle. You use the language, you could say, so-and-so, you got out of your chair, that's unexpected. We're sitting now. You're using a firm tone, but you're fairly neutral, and that does not have anything in it that's going to really create that power struggle. If they say why, you can say, well, look, we decided on these rules. Look, it says we need to sit in our seats. That's expected behavior. And if they do it again, you can say, all right, I already gave you a warning. Now it's time for you to fill out a think out sheet, right? That way, everything's already up there on the poster that says what the rules are. You don't have to get yourself all upset, and you don't create that power struggle between yourself and the child. And then they also feel calmer and more validated, because you know what? They were sitting there when that whole set of rules came about. The thing about kids, especially kids that have some like ADHD or anything like that, yelling and anger is highly stimulating to their brain. So what will happen sometimes is that children will create situations that are negative because they're trying to get attention and they're trying to get stimulation for their brain. If we don't feed that, they stay calmer, right? That's why it's important to give positive feedback. You know, when you see them doing good, catch them when they're doing good, and to keep yourself neutral when they're not behaving. Because if you yell and if you react strongly, it's almost reinforcing their negative behavior, because you're giving something to them that their brain wants. Now, the next part is movement and mindfulness. When we're doing these things, it's nice to explain to the kids why we're doing it. Hey guys, I see that you have a lot of energy right now. How about we do a 3-minute go noodle or 3 minutes of freeze dance, and then we'll do a breathing activity so that we can calm down and like refocus. By saying something like that, you're letting the kids know what the plan is in advance. They know the expectations, and then you can do it. As long as everybody behaves during it, then you can keep doing that. If you have a day where they're misbehaving or getting too crazy during something that's like an exercise or movement activity, and you can say, well, listen, we're not going to be able to do one tomorrow because this is what happened today. But if you guys can show me you're doing a good job tomorrow, then we'll start doing this again, right? So put it on them that they can change their behavior and get those fun things too. The next part of building community is promoting inclusivity, making everybody feel seen. One of the things you can do for that is to ask the children about their favorite things, stuff that they've done at home. Ask questions and make comments about it, and really engage with them. Also have a special part of the wall, like a poster or something, where the kids are allowed to bring in pictures or draw pictures or write the words of people and places and things that are important to them. When everybody has something up on that board, then they'll also feel a connection to the community within that classroom. That's it for today. Thanks for listening.